Hello, hello, hello there, everyone. Patricia Hayes here. How are you doing? It's time for Coffee Time Career Chat. There we go. Make sure we're all up and going here. There we go. Awesome. Hope you all are doing well on this Monday morning. It's a little cloudy here, but it's all good. We've got our coffee. We got our time to chat. So let's get going. For those of you who are joining for the very first time, my name is Patricia Hayes. I'm an executive advisor, career empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And I work with professionals, CEOs, and entrepreneurs to and their teams to uplevel their executive presence so that they can achieve their professional career goals while also building a sustainable and authentic professional networking base that will last them, throughout their careers. And I love doing that work. And just so that you can get in on the greatness of all of that and focusing in on, I believe it's June 1st. So I think that's a Tuesday. June 1st, there is a masterclass on building a profitable networking, network. Pardon me, I should probably drink some water. And it is a free masterclass. You are welcome to attend. Invite your team, invite your colleagues to come show up. If you register, make sure to register. If you register and are unable to attend, I will send you the link so that you can take a look at it before the link expires in about a week. I think I give you a few days or a week. So anyway, I invite you to attend. I look forward to having you there with me. We do it over Zoom, and I'm super excited about it. So that'll be coming up. And then next masterclass that will be coming up is diversifying your network. And I'm bringing in some guest speakers for that one. That one will not be free. It will have a fee attached to it. And I'm super excited about that and what it's going to look like, because we're going to be talking about the importance of and what it means to diversify your professional relationships in more ways than what people just presume to, talking about race and gender, but in all kinds of other ways that's helpful to you and your profession as well. So keep an eye out for both of those things. All right. So we are finishing up. Are we finishing up? I think we are. I think we're finishing up our conversation about executive presence this month. And we've been talking about this all month long in one format or another. And today we are going to close it out with talking about looking like a leader. And this has been very interesting. And when I went back to check my notes on it, I already had outlined some of the comments. So I was like, well, we're just going to go with that, because clearly it meant something to me when I wrote it down the first time. And I thought it was important enough to capture it at that point in time. So the first thing that I want to talk about is when you are, quote, looking like a leader, there are things that people say and do that they think makes them, look and sound like a leader. And I want you to challenge those notions. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But I want you to challenge those notions, because especially in today's world where everything's been, just turned upside down completely, that a lot of the things that were considered, quote, conventional wisdom are not actually that. Like, yeah, they may work for a limited time in a limited setting, but they don't work today. They're not current, and or they're not relevant perhaps to where you are. So a lot of times what would happen is that the definition of a leader, and I have a problem with defining positional leaders versus situational leaders, that came from the business world. So it's very stiff, very, one track. You got to do this, you got to accomplish X. And that kind of got pushed over into all of the worlds. And that's not necessarily what it means to look like a leader, right? That's not necessarily what will be effective in your small nonprofit environment versus in your creative environment. And so what does it mean then if it's not a one size fits all? So that's what we're going to talk about here today. Some of those things to challenge you, to help you reconsider how you've been defining what it means to be a leader and to look like one. And then to take what you need, take what fits, and to apply it to where you are right now today so that you can grow and move forward in your profession and your career, your business. All right. So the first thing is meeting industry standards or industry expectations, I want to say, authentically. Now, this gets a little bit into what I was just talking about, right? Like we have this industries, we have these things that are like, well, you have to do X, Y, and Z. But here's the thing. You do not have to do all the things just because they are expected. And I know you're like, that's not true. That is true. Well, here's the thing. If you recognize and respect the structure, the standard, or whatever. So I'm not saying just blow the lid off of something. I mean, that's up to you if it fits. However, but what you want to make sure is that when you are acknowledging that standard, when you are acknowledging that expectation, that you are doing it in a way that is authentic and real to you, in a way that you can follow, that puts you in a true space. This is where that conflict and that misalignment occurs because people try to assume on a facade or a persona, that's the word I'm looking for. They try to assume a persona that then they think will have them, quote, be recognized as the leader in their space. And here's the thing, most people can see through fraud, or most people can see through fake, right? Or they know when it's off. So even if they can't totally see, they just know it's like, that's not genuine, there's not something there. So that's my charge to you on this point, which is fine. You know, you have to meet certain expectations for your industry. There are certain things that do have to happen a certain way, but make sure that you do it authentically. Make sure you do it in a way that is aligned with your values, with your core beliefs, and with your goals. If it doesn't, then it's not going to ring true, and that's not going to put you in the position of being recognized as a leader, as a person of influence who can be respected by the others, those around them, okay? So that's the first point. The second point is that leaders take strategic risks. And this is a very, very touchy subject because most people are completely risk adverse, especially in the workplace. Leadership, true leadership, is not just about doing things rote and safe. Let me say that again. True leadership is not just about doing things that are rote and safe. Rote, just read the script, right? That's not true leadership. Most leaders, and this is the thing that we're talking about, that are positional, are risk averse. And that can be stifling and detrimental to the work that you're trying to get done. That's the reality of it. They're risk averse, meaning we're like, no, because you're scared, you don't feel like you have the authority, you're not confident enough. But it may be what the situation calls for. And looking like a real leader, looking like a true leader, means that you have to consider the breadth of what's ahead of you and what's around you. And sometimes that means taking that extra step, taking that risk that others may not be willing to take. When others are like, I can't believe you're doing that. Why would you do that? It was like, well, because that's what makes sense. Or that's what, the situation calls for. Okay? So you want to make sure you consider that. Don't be afraid to step outside the box. That's basically what it means. And notice I said strategic risk. I'm not talking about being reckless. There's a difference between taking strategic risk and being reckless. I'm not at all suggesting that you're reckless with situations, with people, with responsibilities. But I am saying that if you're taking the totality of what's in front of you and you review it and you're like, I know this is not something we might normally do, but it's called for in this situation because. Okay. And that's what I think you should need to take into consideration when you're wanting to look like a leader. The third point is you have to be willing to fail. This is another touchy one, right? But here's the difference. You have to be willing to fail and learn from the failed attempt. Because first of all, remembering you are not the failure, right? We do things that cause us not to succeed. We fail, we don't accomplish a certain goal, or, there's a major flop. I mean, I've had tons of them, tons of failures, and some of them still haunt me to this day, which is why I have coaching for that. But seriously, though, is that you want to learn from the failure so that it can project you forward. It is not meant to keep you hamstrung in the situations where you are or to keep you from achieving your goals. That is not the point of failure. The point of failure is to put you in a position where you can learn and grow and hopefully actually leverage that situation, that whatever happened, to project you to the next level of where you want to be. When you use it as a foundation for your growth rather than digging a hole for yourself to hide in. Because that's not what we want to do. Okay? Use your failures as a foundation for growth, not as a hiding place. That's a good one, y'all. I like that one. Okay? So make sure you're thinking about that. So we've talked about number one, meeting industry meeting industry expectations authentically. We've talked about taking strategic risk and about being willing to fail and learn. Now, here's the next point. Be a thought leader. And what does that mean, right? Well, that means you have to grow into and continue to grow into your skills and abilities as an expert in your field. And when you're doing that, you're building that credibility for your expertise and your contributions. So contribute, give, people call and seek out advice, or they're like, what are your thoughts about this situation, right? Continue to nurture that so that you can be considered a thought leader in your field. That is absolutely something and someone who is looking like a leader. When you're getting those calls of, what do you think about? Or, hey, let's loop Patricia in on this deal. I've had a few of those happen more recently that really caught me off guard because it wasn't about something that I would have expected in my, quote, normal realm. But it was something that I've been, I care passionately about, and that I've been weighing in on, but not to that extreme where I thought, well, gosh, they're going to call me before they take their next step. But that's what happened. So those things can happen when you when you dive full in to situations, to the work, to putting in the time to become an expert, to to build your credibility. That's, people are watching and they're listening, and they will call you when you least expect it. Absolutely, they will. Okay. So you do not want to miss that opportunity, because that's exactly what it is. There are definitely opportunities. And people are like, well, I don't consider myself an expert. Well, then you need to work on that. But then when you get to that piece, I'm like, well, why do people call me for things? Well, you have to put yourself in the position of being considered for that. Okay. Whether that is because of your actual role in the organization, or whether it's because of something that you've contributed to in your free time, or as a passion project. A lot of things build from people who are pursuing things as passion projects or on the side that really, can project them forward. Okay, because people realize they're committed to this. There's credibility behind the work that they're doing. All right. So think about what that is for you and how you can level up in that space. authentically, right? Not just forced, but authentically, doing it so that it's real, so that it connects, it reads well, and it's in alignment with your goals, with your dreams, with your beliefs and values, so that, because that's what people will see. Okay, that is what people will see, and that's what they will respond to in the long run. Okay, let's see. We get through everything? I think so. Getting a little quick there, yeah? All right, so we've been talking about looking like a leader. This is closing out our series on executive presence for this month, where we have talked about a host of things about, working through your networking flock, about building your confidence, about using inspiration as a leveraging point to launch you to the next point, to your next piece in your career, in your business, whatever that might be. So it's been a full month, and I love this topic, and I'm looking forward to delving into it much more in the days and weeks to come as we build out a new executive presence and leadership package for those women in particular, but for those professional CEOs, entrepreneurs who need that extra boost of confidence, who may be stuck where you are and you're like, what am I going to do next? And we have a whole host of things we're working through. So I want you to reach out to me if that sounds like something you might be interested in, because that will be doing a soft launch here in the month of June with a full-blown launch, I believe by July. So think about that. Let me know. And if you have any feedback on this particular series, if there's something else you have a question about, drop it in the comments. Hit me up in the DMs. I'm happy to respond to it throughout the course of the week. And that is it. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will check in with you later. Don't forget, Wednesdays, Coffee Time Career Chat is recorded, and that's the networking version. And we're going to be closing out that series on team building for your professional relationships in your organizations. Okay? All right. Take care, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.